because you believe, essentially, that they're on the path to hell. So
Right.
the compassionate thing is to try to get them on the right path to salvation.
Right.
All right. So what you were saying right before is you don't know that it's always the intention, the intention to destroy the family with some of these things. A lot of people might think that they have good intentions. And my perspective on that, what I mentioned right before, was I don't know if they have to. Because as we talked about with our last abortion video where the battery drained from 100% to 0% in 10 minutes as well.
Yeah.
I don't know that the intent really has to be there, because you have the Church of Satan.
Right.
And people saying, oh no, we actually don't believe in Satan. We don't believe that there is a Satan. We don't.
Yeah, they're doing his will, but
they're doing everything that he wants them to do.
Right.
I think I've heard the saying, the number one way that Satan will drag you to hell is by convincing you that he's not real.
Yeah.
Right. So,
and I didn't mean that they weren't culpable or that they weren't, doing his will.
But I can see where where they might not realize that
Right.
they might think it's a good thing, but that whatever's influencing them, if there's any kind of influence that attacks the family, it's only coming from one place, right?
Right.
It's going to be demonic, and that is why the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
Yeah.
People thinking they're doing a good thing when they're actually doing something that's completely opposite of what the church teaches.
Right.
We see that with justifications for abortion. Those people, I think a lot of them that I've seen are actually fairly evil themselves. I've heard a lot of bad things come from them. But even with when you have like nominal Catholics that have sympathy toward the issue, I don't think that's coming from a bad place. I think they're trying to have sympathy for the woman.
Right.
They're just not directing it fully to have sympathy for the whole situation and the baby as well. Right.
Right.
So,
I think that also comes out of like, let's say bad parenting, and what I mean by that is like, you have these people who they go along with the transgender ideology. They go along with, abortion. They go along with certain things because, my son's gay. I'm going to let him get married to a dude, which isn't marriage. But they go along with all these things because they don't want to hurt their feelings. So they think they're being compassionate by, just letting that person, quote unquote, feel good about the decisions they're making. And that's not what love is. Love is obviously holding on to somebody, but also being willing to let go if you need to, or also being willing to just tell the truth. So if the truth is love, hey, that lifestyle you're living isn't healthy, you shouldn't do that. If you're an alcoholic, if you're somebody you love is drinking every day and having to escape into drugs or alcohol, you're most likely not just going to keep feeding them those things and say, it's okay, we love you, here, just do whatever, you're fine. You're going to say, hey, you really shouldn't do that, that's bad for you. And so that's what I mean by bad parenting. It's like, it's that relationship where you think just because their feelings are going to get hurt, you're not being compassionate. But if you're doing it out of a place of love and doing it as kindly as you can, that is love. that is true compassion. Is because in the end, you don't want them to be, okay, you're going to be sad about this decision right now, but then in eternal life, you're going to have an eternal life that isn't surrounded by a separation from God. So
yeah, we've talked about this a couple times in the podcast, but I'll bring it up again because it kind of just fits our narrative of what we're even doing here to start with, which is we are here. We are called to call out sin charitably.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. Calling out sin, you're calling it out compassionately, out of compassion, out of love, right? If you are a Catholic out there, you believe that there's a hell, and you believe that certain things will take you to hell. Say you're a very devout Catholic, so you go to Sunday, and you go to Sunday Mass, and you do pray a lot, and you do have a good relationship, but you have a family member that doesn't. You don't want to endorse the sins they're doing,
right?
Because the Bible instructs us to tell them what they're doing wrong. Maybe
right.
You have, but you don't want to endorse it because that's not out of love, because you believe essentially that they're on the path to hell. So
right.
The compassionate thing is to try to get them on the right path to salvation.
Right.
Not to let them do the thing that they like doing, even though it's destructive for them.
Right.
Or destructive for their soul.
Instead of writing a gospel to yourself of, well, I'm being compassionate because I care about how they feel right this second. But again, the long term, that's a whole different story.
Yeah. Well, some of the attacks on family, of course. I mean, you said you had some kind of breakdown there on men with feminism. Did you have any other? And that, I think, if we want to explore on that, yeah, I mean, what did feminism do other than kind of demasculate men, right? Made them less masculine, told women that they didn't have to marry, they didn't have to start families, which maybe have to is
took
the
them out of the
word,
home,
but convinced them that it was better to not have family, go chase a career.
Right.
We've seen statistics
They
where that's
made
not,
it looking like motherhood is a bad word. It's like you're less
word.
somehow if you decide to.
And I know my wife struggled with this when we had our first kid. I mean, we had our kid young, for one. So there's already that pressure of, you're young, you need to go to college or career or whatever.
Right.
But she always did struggle with that, with the fact that, she felt like she wasn't taken seriously because she was a stay-at-home mom, and there was other people around her who were, going to college or getting a career, and she didn't feel like she was the serious one. Like she was just... But she since changed her view of thinking on that into the more of the homemaker type. There's a huge responsibility in being a mother and raising children.
Yeah.
So I do know that she struggled with some of those feelings early on, but it's because she's been told that, right?
Yeah, the society has
been
told her.
ingrained into her that she should go get a job and she should establish her career and you should start a family when you're ready. But then ready never comes because
Yeah.
when you look at those stats, the men that want to start families usually want to do it a lot earlier. And if they're off in college or off having a career, they're not going to be part of that pool at that time, and it's going to be harder the later you get in.
Yeah.
line.
Well, that's a side tangent. I've written that down somewhere else too. But the starting your family so late, that is pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and you've got people who are in their 60s starting families, and it's so unfair to the kid. First of all, Dad, will you throw the ball with me? Oh, I threw it my back. I mean, there's that right there. There's just so many different things that instantly raise a flag. But I say that those people who do that are wussies, because you know how pathetic is it that you have to fulfill your own little fantasies. I want to be able to stay out late. I want to be able to, basically just worry about all the stuff I want first. And the thing that those people miss out on is that the thing that they want, that they don't know that they want because they're too busy focusing here on themselves, and they're not focusing on the fact that, I mean, a family is a blessing. Having a wife, husband, is a blessing. Having somebody else to take care of and a reason to get up in the morning is a blessing. When you're just focused on yourself, I mean, obviously that's sinful in itself, but it's such an empty lifestyle.
And I can see that, but as we talked about a moment ago, I don't know how culpable most women or men are because of the society, right? Women have been told and been ingrained this is what you should do. So I don't know that they're doing it from a selfish perspective.
Oh, it's selfish big time. It's just that they don't realize it's selfish.
Well, that's what I mean. Again, with the culpability, they might not be realizing that it's selfish to say, well, no, I do want a family. I just want to make sure that I have enough money to take care of that family.
Yeah.
Their line of thinking is it's just skewed to the point where it becomes disruptive to the family long term.
Right. But you have so many Disneyland adults nowadays. People I'm 35. I'm too young to have kids. You should have already had kids, like in high school almost at 35, not be, anyway. But you have all these Disneyland.
Not quite 35 and I have a kid.
You have all these adults who think that it's cool to go be a kid as long as possible because, I mean, as an adult, I know I love to think about when I was a kid, and occasionally we do things that are kind of fun, especially men, because we're kind of childish that way. But I mean, we attempt to grab those things and pull them back into the future where we are now to really relive those nostalgic moments. But these people never got out of that, and they just want to continue living it rather than, oh, I remember back when I was a kid and revisiting that with your kids. And that's another blessing that they're taking away from themselves doing that, is like the how many movies or how many things that you really enjoyed as a kid, now you get to show your kids and you're like, oh, this is my favorite movie, and you can watch them go or maybe they're like, hey, this is actually pretty cool, or sports, or those things that you enjoy doing. You're just taking that whole experience away from yourself. And
I still had a bucket of I remember making a post on this years ago, like on Instagram or something, because we went to go visit my parents, and I had my childhood Legos back before they were $1 billion a box.
Yeah.
But I had a bucket, and I literally felt like I won the lottery and gave my kid this giant. So we still have all these Legos at the house. They've just been passed from, down to my son, down to my youngest son. Now he plays with them. But when I found them, I'm like, man, this is a jackpot, because Legos are so expensive. So they got all my old Legos. There was even still creations in there that I made when I was a kid. So with that, we got time though. So.
Oh. Well, I was just going to say my Lego collection ended up in the vacuum cleaner in the trash. But anyway, all right, we'll be back.
In nomine